The glimpse at magic number 70 takes a step back to allow for a large shadow in its wake and a towering Miles the Monster, where tonight the short track stint comes to a close from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway, and where we welcome you live to race 6 in round 1 of the 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Welcome to our coverage on Podium Esports presented by Elite Performance Industries, where alongside Rachel Whiteford in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer producing our shots all night long using cameras by the great Dougie Beard and Nicholas Weatherby on Podium Esports social media. Well, if there's one thing to know, Rachel, about this race tonight, of course, Dover is a very abrasive track, a very tough challenge for all of the competitors in this race. There's also another thing to look after, the point standings. We are now 3 races shy of round 1's conclusion, which means top 70 is going to get decided rather quickly.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that top 70 has gotten to be a larger proportion of this field as we're seeing that change, of course. But they talk about Dover being self-cleaning. It is, in a way. It will clean your clock. This track, it will bite really hard. This place is tricky. We'll see a lot of off-corner mistakes. We'll see restart mishaps. This technically is self-cleaning, but in that things end up at the bottom, but how many get there is another story.
That's why they call it Miles the Monster. That's why they call it the Monster Miles, because if you make any of those mistakes, it will bite you, and it will be very, very nasty. Here's a look at the schedule, what I mentioned already at the top of the show. This is the last race of our 3-race short track stint, which means we get to head back to the larger ovals in 2 weeks' time when we go over to the Kansas Speedway on May 12th and then Charlotte Motor Speedway to wrap up what's been a crazy but really successful round 1 for a lot of drivers and a lot of great racing in the middle of all of it, Rachel. But tonight here at Dover, a very tough venue, and while it is kind of as short as Bristol, as short as a Richmond, a little bit larger but still around the same nature, it is a whole different beast in its entirety as you take a look at our race analysis.
Yeah, it really is. Now, you gotta remember, this is a mile long, so it's a bit bigger than Dover, or Bristol, sorry, or Martinsville. But it feels exactly just as confined. It's just slightly longer. The track is just as lacking in space. There's nowhere to go when accidents happen. The banking is a little shallower, but that just makes the cars a bit more likely to get a bit tail happy.
And we'll see many of that tonight, of course, like we saw at Bristol and at Richmond alike in the past couple of races. You just looked at what was the rest of the race analysis. We go 120 laps, 120 miles, just under 200 kilometers. Of course, we do have 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need them. No fast repairs are assessed to any driver here tonight. And of course, with this eNASCAR step in the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, there are open setups for everyone, so no need to deal with the fixed setup series. This is where all the drivers can really use to their advantage to tinker with their race trucks and do whatever they may please. But of course, we do have a lot to think about when it comes to what this Dover race is going to be, especially when the tail is into Kansas and Charlotte. But for now, we'll hold on to it. We'll give our presenting sponsor, Elite Performance Industries, a chance to show what they're all about. And on the other side, we've got the grid and the rest of the race. Green flag in just a couple of moments from Dover. Welcome back to the virtual Dover Motor Speedway, where we've got round 6 in the 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Speaking of qualifying, it's already wrapped up. We've got the starting grid ready for you, and it is Andrew Navarro, the 18 truck with the fastest time, a 22.393. He'll be the first to see the green flag once Barney the Flagman has it in store. Christopher Pfeffer with a very solid qualifying effort. Remember the troubles he suffered at Bristol. He's going to look to recover this time as he starts outside row 1. Defending winner at the short track Bristol Motor Speedway from just a couple of weeks ago, Parker White is the 2 truck this time around, but still a great qualifying effort for 3rd. Jake Nichols in the 21 will be on his outside in P4. British driver Joel Blewett will have the 1 truck honors this evening, with Jonathan Delaney, the pole sitter from Bristol 2 weeks ago. He'll be on the outside in P6. Tyler Severa in the 7 will lock up a 7th place qualifying spot, with Santiago Tires, our Las Vegas winner from earlier in the campaign. He starts outside in P8. Final drivers within the top 10 include the 30 of Kyle Myers and the 11 of Daniel Falkingham.
In the 11th spot is Boyd Hogan. There on the inside outside of him is Logan Shelton in the 31 truck. Row number 7 is going to be Seth DeMerchant there, strong driver in the 3. And 14th place, Tucker Minter on his outside. Row 8 is Casey Tucker, and we've got Daniel Butfaco in the 19 truck there. Row number 9 is Justin Bolton in the 22 with Anthony Burrows in the 8. Row number 10 is the 25 of Matt Danson with Alex McCollum in the 13.
In P21 on the qualifying charts tonight, you'll find Drew Freenars in the number 6 with Jordy Lopez Jr. to his outside. In P22, Michael Cozy Jr. did not put up the greatest qualifying effort, but he is very good on these short tracks. We'll see what he could do from 23rd, with Tyler Gary to his outside. The 24 truck is 24th when we get to the green flag. Eugene Mozganov starts inside the top 25. Kenny Brady will be to his outside in P26, followed by Larry Pace and Trevor Edwards, the drivers to rack up row number 14. Daniel Roper and David Brown are the next ones within the top 30, and Roper is the first driver out of the rest to not set a qualifying time. Michael Frisch in the 26 is here in 31st. Brad Davies 32nd. Blaze Crawford is 33rd. And rounding out your 34 truck field is Jordan Worth in the 34. So trucks are on their way to the green flag in just a couple of moments. They've got the pace car just in front of them. We'll be waiting in just a little bit for the iRacing green flag to show up here once we go with these 120 laps from Dover Motor Speedway. Rachel, there was a lot to discuss after Bristol, no doubt about it. We had a lot of crashes, a lot of great racing, and a lot of different lines being pushed. What are the expectations for Dover Motor Speedway this time around?
A lot of the same. There's going to be a lot of scores to settle too, and there's a lot more room here to bump and bang, so we'll have to see exactly what happens.
Pace car is down. It is a charging Andrew Navarro with Christopher Pepper behind. Navarro's up and away, and we are racing for race 6 in round 1 of the 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series.
Big start there by everybody, clean start as well, driving down the backstretch here, giving us everything you've got, as this will be a deciding first run. How this plays out will dictate the pace of this overall race, and so far everyone's singling out nice and easy. A little bit of too wide action further back, a little bit of congestion, but everyone get themselves sorted.
Everybody all single file, sort of similar to the start over at Bristol Motor Speedway a couple of weeks back. So obviously no surprise, we're seeing everybody mostly one single file. There's a look at the 19. Daniel Buttafuoco just got off of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series win over at Watkins Glen. Dominated the last part of that one, was able to hold on, and he's very loose there right underneath Logan Helton in the 31. Helton is going to keep his place strong though up at the very top. We've got that battle so far for P14. You watch Seth DeMerchant a little bit higher up. There's Kyle Myers trying to charge on the very inside. This is our first real look at a side-by-side battle between most of the field. But for so far, at least within the opening 3, Andrew Navarro has been up and away. Kyle Myers, though, is in trouble. Hard into the inside wall. That's going to stack everybody up on the main front straightaway. And our first caution is displayed with only 4 laps complete.
I wondered how long we'd go before this happened, Kenneth, but we had it right here. Got the replay for you there. You guys got loose, a little bit of contact. Oh, loose coming out of 4. Tiny touch of contact. Might have been a bit of an echo there, not sure, but it was the slightest eclipse, and it just was enough to tip him around, and thankfully it was only him involved. As much as that sucks for him, could have been worse.
It's sort of similar to Bristol Motor Speedway, in which you've got a lack of space really all across the track. We'll take a look at Casey Tucker, who was just behind the 30 of Kyle Myers before everything got sent into a very tough situation. You see right there, just about lost the truck way in the midst of turn 3 coming out of turn 4. And Usually we're used to seeing a lot of guys go way up to the outside wall and push understeer. That time it was a lot of oversteer for that Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. And so Kyle Myers creates the first caution, goes hard into the inside safer barrier, and then there was nothing that many of the other drivers could do. It looks like Larry Pace was also involved. Matt Danson had a huge hit. Daniel Roper in the 12 has already put it behind the garage. So he's our first DNF tonight. It's just a big, huge hit. And already, much like Bristol, Rachel, we've got our first caution in just the first couple of laps. I don't think that was a surprise to any of us, but I mean, at the same time, this track can reduce itself to long green flag runs. It just didn't do that so far.
No, I think a long green flag run will happen this race, but we'll probably get a couple of bursts of cautions, and we'll kind of weed this field down a little bit. Unfortunately, that happened, but this is exactly what's going to really occur.
So our first caution is out, lap number 6 so far, and it's been a smooth sail run for Andrew Navarro, who pretty much filed himself single file, cleared everybody else. By the time he got out of turn 4 on the opening jump, he's going to catch the iRacing official pace car here with Parker White behind in P2. Well, of course, tonight's race is proudly presented by Elite Performance Industries, your home for iRacing setups, apparel, and driver development. Contact the EPI social media pages to get in touch and learn from guys like eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Michael Conti. For more information, visit ElitePerformanceIndustries.com. EPI, your home for all things iRacing. So with this caution here, of course, everybody are going to end themselves single file. Rachel White for Kenneth Bueno up here in the broadcast booth. Ryan Bauer producing our shots with cameras by Dougie Beard and Nicholas Weatherby on our social media. And at least for what it looks like so far, Rachel, this just looks like Bristol. A lot of guys want to end up on the inside lane. But if there's one thing to know about this Dover Motor Speedway is that the outside really isn't useful. We don't see a lot of guys go up to the outside wall or really close to it and get momentum off of the corners. You really want to be happy staying at the very bottom near the apron, or maybe the middle where you can arc yourself out of either turn 2 exit or turn 4 exit. So at this point, I think, Rachel, we're going to see majority of the field bottom feed instead of try to venture out to the top like we expected at Bristol.
Yeah, it's a different line here at Dover, and in turn 1 and 2, you're taking it differently to 3 and 4. So 1 and 2, you're entering low, you're kind of going up in the middle, and you're coming back down again to apex almost a second time in that sequence. So you got 2 apex hits, you're kind of diamonding turn 1 and 2. 3 and 4, you kind of want to go in a bit higher and exit low. So you're kind of entering mid, exiting low, kind of apexing really late, but I think we're about to go back to green.
We definitely are about to go back to green flag racing. It is once again, of course, our pole sitter, Andrew Navarro, up at the front of the field. He's got another driver, though, to his outside this time. Not Christopher Pfeffer. It's Parker White in the 2. Green flag back in the air. Pace car is down and safely into pit road. And Navarro once again replicates that jump from lap 1 and easily skirts out to about a 0.2 of a second lead over Parker White. There you see pretty much the first battle. It clears itself out rather quickly. Jake Nichols there sliding in front of Jonathan Delaney. Lost that spot there to Christopher Pfeffer in the 27. And then you look at the first side-by-side battle proper. It's Joel Blewett on the outside of Santiago Tires.
Yeah, he's going for it right now, and Tires is definitely going to keep his eyes peeled. And there's a round he goes.
Around. That's one
Yellow
truck
flag
around there.
line,
It looks like the 7, Tyler Severa, is around. A couple of others have also gotten into trouble. Looks like Daniel Budafoco got a piece of the damage on his Chevrolet Silverado, but Severa gets spun in the middle of the corner, and just as quickly as we got caution number 1, we get caution number 2.
What's the old adage? Cautions breed cautions. And yeah, they do, especially as people hadn't really pitted yet. But 4 laps isn't a lot on the tyres, but it's enough to set the sheen off them. And that was just a bunch of trucks that were super close together. 19 caught a piece of him, going down to the bottom. Unfortunate for those guys, but I think they're pushing a little hard for this early in the race. We've got 120 laps. This isn't lap 1:15.
Take another look at it, and it all began with Boyd Hogan as Severa had tried to clear himself up and basically got there, chopped off the front bumper, and then it looked like Hogan was just going to try to go back for a pass and get it back on the inside, but it was just too little too late by the time they entered the corner, and the 9 of Hogan just gets right into the 7. Here's a look from Hogan's perspective. You see the truck just bounce up on the right front and just goes up. Nothing that he could do at the point that Severa is basically 90 degrees sideways. and then Burafoco gets into it, and everybody once again just stacks up. Just a relative to the lack of pace here at Dover Motor Speedway. Here's a better look from Casey Tucker, who, by the way, had a brown pants moment just behind Kyle Myers, and it all happens all over again. I don't know how Casey Tucker's avoiding all of this. He's been very lucky, but I can attest to you he's probably very scared behind the wheel, knowing how close he's been to those 2 cautions.
Yeah, I think he's got the voodoo rituals going on right here. He's praying to some gods to keep this thing clean, because to stay safe and stay clean, out of the way of trouble at these short tracks, it's a dark art. It is not easy. Sometimes you are literally completely without blame, and you'll end up right in the crosshair, so you got to be super careful.
So our second caution out as quickly as lap 11 here out of the 120, and also to update, along with Daniel Roper, it looks like Matt Danson and Jordi Lopez Jr., 2 of the highest running Logitech G Altus esports trucks that we've seen all season long. They have also taken it behind the wall, so they are 32nd and 33rd respectively, and they are out of this race with many others on pit road for damage repair. So while we're into caution once again on Podium Esports here at Dover Motor Speedway, we'll remind you that our coverage is brought to you by Battle Beaver. Battle Beaver has everything you need for your next professionally modded custom controller. With options for PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, and more, Battle Beaver has everything you need to elevate your gaming potential. Head to BattleBeaverCustoms.com to customize your controller, and you can use the code PODIUM for 10% off. Well, Rachel, I guess maybe Battle Beaver may come in hand. I know that there's a certain Nintendo Switch sports game coming out tomorrow, which a lot of people, including me, are very excited for. So maybe Battle Beaver can help out with that. But, I mean, nonetheless, great partner here at Podium Esports, great partner of our coverage of this eNASCAR Road Report qualifying iRacing series, as I guess they give us a chance to talk about them a little bit while we're running beneath the pace car.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And while I don't have a Switch myself, I'm definitely interested in getting some stuff done for my controller I use, because they have some really cool options that will make things lots more ergonomic, ergonomic and much cooler to use. So I will be checking them out myself. That is not a plug. I actually do quite like what I just saw on their website, so go check them out. There's actually some really good stuff on there. Right now, Navarro is in a strong spot, but I think the strongest position in the rest of the field is going to be Pfeiffer. Third place at Dover is the catbird seat. You have the opportunity to go really hard, really fast on those restarts. Second place gets hung out to dry if you get a great launch, so third place is where you want to be.
And Christopher Pfeffer, of course, will have the advantage of the inside lane here by the time we get to the restart, so he can try to maybe anticipate what Andrew Navarro is going to do here by the time they hop onto the accelerator pedal. And Christopher Pfeffer, I mean, if you can recall, 2 weeks ago, Bristol was a very good outing for him until the very end. In the beginning, had a very strong run through the mid-pack, could easily enter into the top 10 as he would wish, but then obviously things struck him. The bad luck got him by the end of the race and took him out from what was a very fast truck to begin that race. And so he's going to look to gain some redemption this time in a very different color for the Legacy Esports Cincinnati sponsored number 27. So we'll be on the back straightaway. Of course, it'll be 2 Toyota Tundras at the front of the field. Your pole sitter Andrew Navarro has yet to relinquish the lead. Parker White has been settling in second, has yet to make a move, but maybe is anticipating a long green flag run. There's Pfeffer right there on the underneath side of Jake Nichols in the 21. And then it's Jonathan Delaney in the 32. He was the pole sitter at Bristol 2 weeks ago as he racks up currently the top 5. Pace car will make its way down underneath the apron and into the entrance of pit road near a very famous spot where Matt Kenseth hit the tire barriers, but nonetheless, everybody's clean off turn 4, green flag back in the air. Andrew Navarro leads us to the conclusion of lap 13, lap 14 underway.
Certainly is, and I swear that pace car dives off the track faster every single time, trying to escape these guys. We're off again, running green here at Dover, and it's getting spicy up in here. These guys are really pushing for this thing. A lot of aggressive moves early on, trying to get track position, I think.
And it looks like every single time we have a restart, the side-by-side battles at the opening jump of the restart gets closer and closer to P1. At first, we saw it around top 15, maybe some top 10. In the second restart, we saw it deep within the top 10, maybe top 5. And now we're seeing it once again. However, they will single file themselves out very quickly, and they'll stack there on the very bottom, as it looks like Daniel Folkingham really is the one leading this charge. Jonathan Delaney was the one that just cleared in a battle with the 17 of Santiago Tires. There's a first look at the side-by-side battle that currently resides in the top 10, as cars just inside of it. Tucker Minter underneath the number 1 truck. That is Joel Blewett. Justin Bolton not too far behind. Bolton, a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competitor for Stewart-Haas Esports. Maybe that's the reason why he's got the Busch colors on his Ford F-150 tonight. They will remain side by side, and it looks like Blewett will hold on here on Minter.
Yeah, I think he will for now. Bolton's also on board there in the back in this little group here, but they're going to want to get out as too wide as soon as possible. You really want to get singled out here and get a good chance to run, because you're just going to go backwards on the top there. Look at that truck up there. He's just sailing backwards. Seth the Merchant looking back here towards one of the other Logitech Gialtis cars behind. You got to be so careful that you're just going to get funneled all the way back when you're on the top side there. It's so tricky.
And it's just like Richmond in some cases, because when you're in that middle, when everybody just freight trains you on the bottom, it's really hard to clear yourself and find some space. Luckily, though, for Blewett, he does find a way down to the inside. He'll tuck in behind the 22 of Justin Bolton. He'll stay in front of the Walter machine of Anthony Burrows, who, by the way, posted earlier on Twitter today that maybe Walter the Mile, or I'm not sure if I'm even saying that correctly, but Walter the Monster. It had a picture of that with the Photoshop of Walter holding his F-150 on Twitter. But Burrows running well right now. Started back in 18th. He's already +6 since the drop of the green. As there's a good look on board. And I think, Rachel, this tells you just how abrasive this Dover Motor Speedway is, especially on the exits of corners. And we talked about it pre-race. Exit turn 2, exit turn 4 is the big wiggle problem, where you're going to see a lot of guys hop up over the hill and onto the 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways, which, unlike Dover or unlike Bristol or Richmond, is very tough, and it hits you quick, and it can settle everybody out of shape.
Yeah, it's the transitions between the angles. I think that's the biggest difference here at Dover, and that's what upsets most cars, most trucks in this case, is you definitely get a real transition between those angles, and it can really make things a little bit awkward and loose. Especially when you're running a setup like these guys are, these open sets can get real loose on purpose to be fast, and this place will unbalance even the strongest setup, and everyone has just shoved it down single here, getting the track time done.
And I've seen a lot of drivers. Daniel Buttafoco was one of them, but there were others that I've also seen run C Open, which is the official series here on the iRacing platform, where you do run these NASCAR Camping World Truck Series machines. And those guys do like to use C Open as sort of a leverage point as to how fast their setups are, and it gives them a look at, okay, what do I need to improve? What am I dialed in on? What do I kind of need to change a little bit just to make it more comfortable for my driving style? And we've seen some guys in the midweek already go through that, especially with more notes in the fact that the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series was here, and that series is, much like this one, open setup. So they also take more notes on that with their respective teams. There's a solid pass right there. That was Justin Bolton already up to 8th. Bolton started back in 17th, and it's been a solid move up to the front so far, Rachel, for that 22, as he just got by the 4 of Tucker Minter.
Yeah, Bolton's been in a really strong position right now. That truck is moving forward. It's got great momentum. His set is clearly working. That truck is absolutely on rails. He's putting himself in great positions as well. That's the thing. He's positioning really well.
You look on board there with the Ford F-150. Now I'm going to try and pray here on Seth the Merchant, who obviously is a winner earlier in this season. Won the opening race at Daytona International Speedway. Has been close to a couple more. The Logitech Gialtis Esports truck has been fast since the very beginning. But a Merchant there looks like he's struggling in a certain part of the track. Bolton's going to close in deep here, and we'll try to make an exit move out of turn 4. Maybe get turn 1. As his reference, he'll almost strike the outside wall there, almost fishtailed it out of the corner, but he is really starting to put it on here to the 3, and it's just letting him know, hey, I'm faster than you. I'm going to put the pressure on until either 1, you make a mistake, or 2, I find the space to get underneath. And Bolton just holding on as now he looks to the middle.
Yeah, he really is, and he's going to try and get himself set up. It's going to take a couple of laps to do something with that, but you want to try and find yourself in a good spot to set up here. And you know what? Sometimes slapping the outside wall like exiting 4 with the back end of your truck isn't a terrible thing. You can actually straighten you back up again, if you're careful.
You definitely got to be careful. We talked about the bumps there. When you go up the hill there on the 9 degrees of banking, it looks like Bolton just has the truck set up for it. Is now make that pass complete on Seth the Merchant. Justin Bolton now up to 7th. So he's pretty much been one of the largest chargers, if not the hardest charger in this field. I was about to mention on one of the cautions that Tyler Gary has been up plus, I believe, +9 or plus 10 since the drop of the green. He started in 24th. He's up to 15th. Here's another good mover right here. Michael Cozy Jr. in the 14. Another Logitech G Altus esports machine. But Rachel, one that you got to take note of on these short tracks. And he started pretty far in this field, but it looks like that truck also dialed in as he skips up to the outside of Tyler Gary. Cozy finished in the top 3 just 2 weeks ago at the Bristol Motor Speedway and showed the field just how dominant he could be with the right setup and the right mindset as well. So Cozy having a lot of fun going through the field as now he enters the top 15 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Cozy's a wily campaigner, especially on the short tracks. He's always one to watch. His qualifying wasn't great. It was pretty rough, but he's making his way forwards here, so keep eyes out.
And Cozy also remarkably is doing that diamond approach that you mentioned, Rachel. So a lot of guys, including Cozy, are now starting to implement that. They don't want to stay all the way to the bottom where their apron is. They want to swing it out in the middle of the corner. There you look at the 14. Just leaves a little bit of space between the truck, the left side of it, and the exact darker spot, which is the official apron here at Dover Motor Speedway. So you see right here, locked to the inside, swing up high, where the marbles are, where that running line is, the darker shade of gray there on the concrete surface, and then gets a really good exit out of the corner. Actually did so enough to get right to the back bumper of Alex McCollum in the 13. But that's what you got to do here, Rachel. If you got to compensate for the really abrupt moves up to the banking there on the straightaways, when it's either the front or the back, you got to make sure that you arc that truck enough so that when you push on the throttle out of the corner, you don't hit the outside wall and you stay arced in the right place, right time. You don't get any damage from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about making the truck work for you. It's trying to control the behavior of this vehicle and try to keep the wheels turning in a straight line, rolling in a straight line, because anytime you start to get slide, you get wear. You don't want that. You want the tires to roll in a straight line with no side force. So diving in the corner can often reduce side force on the tires, make it work a little better. Because running right down the bottom is really tough on the tires and the grip. You'll get lots of side force. Letting it diamond a bit more, and like some of these guys here are going starting mid, and they're starting to kind of start up a little bit higher in 3, diving down towards that late apex right where the pit wall starts and getting up high out of it. It's about letting the truck run where it wants to, and where it wants to, it'll be faster, especially on these tires, because you'll have more grip.
Well, what mitigates this arc approach from Michael Cozy Jr. and from a lot of others is that if you take a different line, let's say you go on the inside of a certain driver, it could slow you up dramatically, and that's what happened to the 14. Tried to go underneath Alex McCollum out of turn 4, just could not find the run out of turn 2, and it brought in the 6th truck of Drew Freenage. So now he's into it as McCollum will actually do a battle of his own, this time with Casey Tucker up at the front. This fighting very, very close around the top 15. I saw a couple laps ago, Joel Blewett in the 1 truck get very loose out of turn 4 and almost slapped into Anthony Burrows, the truck just behind him. And all these guys here just scrapping for position as Cozy finds the outside here on McCollum.
Yeah, he does again, and he's keeping that truck working. He's pulling forwards here so quickly. 15th right now, looking for that 14th spot, trying to find a way through on this as Tucker, 23 truck. He's working this thing, but it's a really awkward position to be in.
This is a very tough spot, and even more so for Freenage, who, yes, has the inside, but just cannot maximize that corner exit. That's what's allowing Cozy to stay up there, although Cozy is losing a lot of speed here because here comes Michael Frisch in the 26 to make it a 3-truck fight here for P15 on the racetrack. So Cozy immediately drops 1, may drop 2 if he makes another mistake, but will stay side by side with the Chevrolet Silverado on the very bottom. This time, though, Freenage will actually officially clear, so move Freenage into the top 15. That got very hairy there for a couple of moments, but that's the nature of this Dover Motor Speedway. You don't necessarily feel safe at any part of this track, and I've driven it in sim with the truck, with the Xfinity car, and with the new NASCAR Next Gen Cup car. It's just so sketchy no matter what you drive here, just because of the speed you have to carry, the abrasiveness of the track temp on the concrete surface, pretty much bearing you down every single lap, and just a bunch of other factors that can really punish you if you either break a sweat or make a mistake or let something off for 2 seconds. It's just unbelievable how tough this track is to keep focus at.
I disagree. I say it's different. I say it's a driver's track. I say this is the kind of place where you can really get up on the wheel and drive a vehicle around a track like this. Martinsville, less so Bristol, actually. Bristol's very much the setup and the momentum, whereas Martinsville or Dover or Darlington, they're your line choice, they're you're getting up on the wheel, it's where you're letting off, it's where you're trying to get that vehicle moving, that truck especially. It's using the vehicle's benefits for you and getting it to actually go fast. It's a driver's art. It's less about having a really rapid truck and just gassing it when you need to go. You really enjoy driving a place like this.
So I guess to you, it's more like driver's art, much like it is at Darlington. I guess for me, it's just a skill issue on my part. Maybe I'm just really bad that I don't understand the magic of racing at a track like this. Is right on board here with Anthony Burrows, who is behind the number 1 truck of Joel Blewett, by the way. And if there is one thing you can notice about not only the 1 truck, but the 2 truck of Parker White here in this race, is that they both are bearing very similar paint scheme, and that is by design. Earlier on, before, of course, the 2 of Parker White and the 1 of Joel Blewett signed to their teams for this 2022 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing season, they were part of a smaller team with a couple other guys. I can mention a few of them: Cole Williams, Sartaj Mon, Chase Bonser, Corey Hartz, among others. They were part of a team called Nebula Esports, a smaller team that raced NIS, that raced a bunch of other series, and did have some sporadic starts in this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series in 2021. Parker White being very successful, most notably here at Bristol, started dead last in that 2021 race and moved his way up to 13th. That was pretty much his final Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series start before this full-time campaign. So a great throwback to their little smaller team there off of the iRacing service, and good to see them doing well here. White in 2nd and Joel Blewett right now in P11. We'll distract ourselves from that for just a couple of moments because things are getting tight, Rachel, between Tucker Minter and Justin Bolton. They almost about wrecked each other a couple laps ago, but they remain side by side with Delaney being the 3rd party.
Yeah, they're really going for this thing at the moment. Side by side here, pushing this hard. And side by side is going to really burn you up here. It's going to really back up your vehicles to the cars behind, the trucks behind. It'll get you in a tricky spot, so they need to sort this out and make a decision at some point. Who's going to go where? Because the inside line's going to be strong, even though he's faster on the outside, and they can squeeze each other as much as they want. Someone's got to get past, otherwise that 32 behind him is going to get really involved here.
Either someone's going to get past or someone's going to make a drastic mistake, because there was contact there between Minter and Bolton. I think over the radio, Minter just slightly apologized for that bare door-to-door contact, but they are still side by side, and in turn losing touch of the leaders up in front. The top 7 have really spread out up to this battle here from P8 on back, that have seemingly held themselves here just because these guys are side by side right now. Last time they said 25 flats. Your leaders setting laps around 24 6s, 24 7s, and 24 8s. Finally, Bolton is able to go by. That'll make a move complete for P8. And Jonathan Delaney will be the next on the chopping block. He'll almost find his space down low, but we'll think about it next time by, as they've got a battle actually further behind. This is the 6, Drew Freenarge and Michael Cozy back at it again.
Yeah, going for something here as it's side by side. This is how confined it feels. So that's our trench run here at Dover on board the truck of Boyd Hogan, looking forward towards Conti Cozy Jr. Sorry, no, it's not Cozy. I think it was Conti. It's not. It's Gary, I believe, there. But yeah, these guys are really working this thing, and you've got to be really careful when you're 2 wide. There's not a ton of room. I've seen people go 3 wide here, but that normally comes before mass death.
It comes before the big one, and we saw about maybe 2 to 3 big ones at Bristol, the last great Coliseum, a couple times. I don't know if I have that number specifically mounted in my head, but it was more than one. And if there's one thing we know about these sort of short tracks, is that they don't have a lot of space. So if you do make a mistake, somebody goes around, somebody hits a wall, they can ricochet back onto the racing surface, and you know how the rest of the story goes on that front. It actually happened with Kyle Myers for our first caution, where he got loose, hit the inside wall, and just came back up the track. That's what involved more trucks. If, let's say, there was more space on the bottom, if it was a different track, he probably could have gotten away just as a single truck incident. But because of the small nature of space here at this Dover Motor Speedway and at Bristol, those tracks alike, you can hit a wall and you just come back into where everybody is trying to develop their rhythm. You can get more people involved indirectly, as Cozy right there just barely clears ahead of the number 26, Michael Frisch, who has done a nice job to keep himself in the mid-pack, and they're approaching a very slow Kyle Myers, who's going to let all these guys by at the exit of turn 2. But lap traffic at these short tracks, Rachel, are much more fun because of the lack of space. These guys have to adapt significantly to get out of harm's way when they approach the slower traffic.
Yeah, it's also very much on the faster trucks onus there to get past safely. You got to be careful because it will mess your race up or it can make it good. And you'll deal with it a lot more often here. Brady is in pit road apparently.
We got one truck in pit road. Kenny Brady is currently 21 laps down in 30th. He's the last truck in the running order. And also to note, we had 3 drivers in the DNF category. Tyler Severa in the 7 is another addition there. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but he is part of the 4 that are officially, unfortunately, out of this race. So we talked about contact, we talked about potential cautions, and what that could do is affect pit road strategy, because as of lap 53, we're closing in on halfway, these guys have not made a trip down pit road. We had those first 2 quick yellows to keep us under yellow for a while and keep us pacing. Maybe some guys save some fuel, but for the most part, everybody's running 100% in this long green flag run, and it means you've got to make a stop before the end of the race is complete. So maybe sooner than later, if we continue on this run, these guys are going to now start to step on a pit road. We may see some of the leaders do it first. There could be the chance for some guys to pull out the strategy books and do something different, but it will not matter. David Brown gets turned on the back straightaway, and the caution flag will wave, and the commentator's jinx remains alive and well.
I think they're pretty glad we did that, to be honest. Apart from the poor guy involved in the incident, I think we're approaching that time where people would want to pit here in this thing. We're approaching that halfway point, so this wouldn't be a terrible time to come down here. Oh, he got stuck in the wall. That's not going to buff out. Yeah, no, pitting now would be good. Pitting now would be great. Get 4 fresh tires, get this thing moving again. I think they'll be in a really great position to actually run this thing. But do you go no tires, take track position, and then hope for a caution quickly after a restart, which is not uncommon again, to just gain position and pit still? Who knows? It's going to be an interesting position to try.
That's going to be an immediate tow, by the way, for David Brown, who unfortunately there got into the contact, got stuck on the inside wall, and that was via the contact with the 15, or rather the 16 truck, the 15 one being the victim end of that side. Eugene Mozganov came up off the corner, maybe tried to side draft or clear behind the 15. Not sure what the motive was there, but unfortunately got to the quarter panel and sent the 15 around. So David Brown goes around here to bring us under caution once again. Here come the leaders onto pit road. Not a surprise that after 56 laps of mostly green flag racing, everybody was going to come in. And this is going to be a general call here, Rachel. Apart from if somebody wants to take a huge risk, this is going to be 4 fresh tires and some fuel to make it to the end.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer stop here to come down, so I think we expected this. I think everyone's a little bit glad we get a yellow flag stop rather than having to do a green flag sequence where we could have some big problems.
So there goes the leaders. Andrew Navarro going to take 4 fresh tires. We'll see where he comes out first. Maybe Parker White and everybody else will have something to say about it, but looks like no real drastic changes between the top 5. Navarro out quickly, out in first. Parker White in second. Christopher Pepper in third. Seth the Merchant, Jake and Nichols to wrap up the top 5. So actually there was a +1 there on the fact that Jake and Nichols got in front of Falkingham, who was in that long green flag run behind Falkingham at that point. Falkingham was stuck behind the 3 of Seth the Merchant. So a slight change in the top 5, but for the most part, everybody is stable. And we'll take a couple of times around the iRacing official pace car to make sure we can get ourselves back set for green flag racing from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. But just a quick reminder that our coverage tonight on Podium Esports is brought to you by Boosted.biz. Boosted builds a custom platform for your brand to sell your products. They take care of everything, pay nothing, and let them handle the rest. To get started with your online store, visit Boosted.biz today. All right, Rachel, first caution in a while, our longest green flag run to date here tonight from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. Is there anything anyone can do right now differently that will help their case against Andrew Navarro? Because it looks like even on the short runs and the long runs, Navarro just has straight up raw pace, and he won't let anybody take the lead away from him.
Well, this is something he won't want. Caution, it brings everyone up to him. His gap goes away here. So that is definitely going to be something really troublesome for him. But he's still got a good pace, especially in the short run. So I think he should be able to feel pretty confident. And being the leader at Dover is probably one of the safest places to be the leader. It is real hard to get past off a restart.
And the restarts have been rather calm here at Dover Motor Speedway, at least for the most part, where Navarro can just get up to a quick getaway, and Parker White and company can just stay behind, clear themselves around, and pretty much just end up in their single file run, which has helped them. It's kept them away from a lot of real pressure that can get to them if they stay up high or try to stay near the middle where somebody can just force their nose down low, and it ends up becoming a compromising situation if you're any one of these guys in the top 5. So fortunately for them, they've been all stuck together like glue within the top 3, top 4. And in that run, most notably, they were rather even, Rachel. It looked like nobody really had the advantage. Some guys maybe setting lap times faster than the leader, but not by much. They were usually by a couple thousand, so it wouldn't really make a huge difference. It just looks like everybody is either really close on speed or just nobody can catch Navarro.
I think everyone's pretty close on speed, but it's track position that will get you here at Dover. That's one thing you really have to keep an eye on as they're doubling up for restart.
So Navarro will again hold the restart in control. He'll be the first one to the green flag on discretion. He's P1. Parker White on the outside of row 1 in P2. Christopher Pfeffer is 3rd. Seth the Merchant is 4th. Jake Nichols racks up the top 5, followed by Daniel Falkingham, Santiago Tires, Justin Bolts, and Tucker Minter, and the 32 of Jonathan Delaney. Well, something interesting about Andrew Navarro before tonight's race, posted out on Twitter. It was Dover time tonight. He wants to see what happens because the last 2 races, he's either been wrecked or rammed. He was hoping for a good one tonight. It has been all but perfect at this point, or all but reckless here. It's been pretty much perfect here since the drop of the green. It's another perfect restart here for Navarro in the 18, but there will be a battle for second confirmed. Christopher Pfeffer found a good launch on the inside, and he's now to the bottom of Parker White.
Yeah, great start there, great launch, and second's a really sucky position to restart in here, so he'll be glad he got that chance to make a move there for the 27 of Pfeffer. Really pushing these guys now. This is where we're going to be in a tricky spot. We're 60 laps in. We're halfway. It's only getting more intense from now. Oh,
and the Merchant to the outside wall. Yeah, just got pushed there by Christopher Pfeffer, I guess was just trying to pinch the 3 near the straightaway wall and sent the Merchant into it. The Merchant will fall back into the clutches. Jake Nichols, Tucker Minter, Santiago Tires, Justin Bolton among those that are willing to take track position away, but the Merchant falls out of the top 4 with that move there that put him into the wall. Luckily, he keeps it straight and we stay green.
Man, that was sketch. That was definitely an interesting one here, but they're pushing it now. This is where we're going to have a much more exciting race. Bolton here in 9th, looking forwards towards Tires and Minter, and Nichols ahead of that group there as well, as we're coming out of 4 here at Dover. Trucks low down. This is where you got to really watch out the distance here. And this, if any track where you really want to be looking at least 2 corners ahead, it's here. Well, you want to look a whole lap ahead if possible. Your spotter will be so important if there's a wreck.
And that onboard shot from Justin Bolton obviously shows you the scale of the battle they're having right now in the top 10, but it also showed you just how quick the Merchant was to get back into where he was at before that slight contact with Pfeffer. Wasted no time to get around Daniel Falkingham, who sits now in the top 5. He was 4th after that incident. The Merchant now back into P4 and will now charge really here on Christopher Pfeffer. Is going to look to take that position back after the slight mishap. Pfeffer gives him the spot. So out of turn 4, the Merchant immediately comes back to 3rd.
Yeah, big push up there, and it was nice of him to give it him back. I think he deserved that one. It was a bit of a mistake on their part, but respectful truck racing here as we're singling out again. So maybe another green run is in the cards. Who knows?
As a look at Joel Blewett getting passed by Casey Tucker in the 23. Of course, Blewett, like I mentioned earlier on, one of the 2 trucks sporting Nebula Esports, and all those guys over there, there's battle right behind them, and it's again the Freenarge and Cozy show. Now, how many times, Rachel, have these 2 been around each other on the racetrack going side by side with either Cozy or Freenarge in the inside or the outside? That time it settles, but that's probably maybe the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time we've seen them side by side, as we may have another side by side battle for second. The Merchant all of a sudden got put in the wall and found the fire underneath the belly. He's up to P2.
Yeah, I think that annoyed him a little bit. He's going for this thing now and trying to push his way up towards Navarro. He's got him in his sights here. The Merchant is one of those drivers I've seen on track, I've commented on for a long time, actually, in multiple series. He's always been a very determined driver, and he's one that will get up from something going wrong, and he will push. So he is always one to keep an eye on.
And the Merchant, of course, not a driver to scoff at. One of the top drivers, if not the top driver here in these top split races for the eNASCAR Road Report qualifying iRacing series. And speaking of which, we talked about the top 70. The Merchant has no worries about that cut line because he is P1 in the standings with this win at Daytona and with all the other finishes he's also put up since then. So the Merchant has been pretty much the best, most consistent driver in this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series season. And now he's looking to put the fight up to your leader, Andrew Navarro, in a couple laps. Last time set at 23.6, Navarro set at 23.5. But now he's got look at the draft, so DeMerch can try and methodically find his way through. DeMerchant, I think after he got the fresh tires and after he had the incident with Pfeffer, just got right back into the grind, and this is the rewards that he's reaping.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a knock to really kind of make you angry, and sometimes driving angry is a good thing, especially the trucks. He's definitely given him the fight to push up here and go after De Navarro. He's getting real close. This could be an opportunity for a first lead change.
It definitely could be. So far, it's been all Andrew Navarro in control of the entire field. The Merchant may have something that could change the record books here so far in round 6 of this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series season. You won't see a lot of side-by-side battles within the top 10, maybe the top 15. It looks like really everybody from first all the way down to really 30th on the racetrack are all single file. Never mind that, because there goes Brad Davies in the 29 underneath Alex McCollum, and it's also been a solid move up to the field, plus 12 since lap number 1 for the former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for Junior Motorsports, Brad Davies, up to 19.
Yeah, pushing him to 19th right now as he goes a little bit harder yet again. Up from 30 seconds, so big movement from him today up the inside here. Good look to get a line in here, gets past the 24, nearly, not quite. It's going to be Brad Davis pushing again as he will slide it through, I think.
Davies barely getting there, still underneath Tyler Gary in the 24. Up top, Gary holding his ground in the very middle lane. They'll come underneath the General Tire Bridge out of turn 2. And Davies will have the nose out front, but will still not have the position cleared. Now it looks like Gary understands, hey, if I stay on the outside, I'm probably going to get freight trained by Alex McCollum and company behind me, so I'll let you by in this time by, and maybe I can get you a little bit later. So Davies now adds plus 1 to the tally. He's now plus 14 since the green flag dropped. Now in P18 behind Michael P. Frisch. There's a look. Right there behind Santiago Tires, Tucker Minter, the winner at Richmond Raceway a couple of weeks back. The second race in our 3-race short track stint, ending tonight here at the Dover Motor Speedway. It's been a solid run so far for Tucker Minter, and I think if you're a race winner at Richmond, yes, it would probably be the best case scenario to go out and dominate and win more races after the fact, but to just put it in top 10s and maybe top 5s and just run well consistently and clean, really all you need to just secure top 70, especially with how far up the field in point standings Tucker Minter already is.
He's in a solid spot here. He doesn't need to worry too hard. Of course, everyone wants to get the best positions they can, but once you're solid, you want to stay solid, and he's going for that sort of nice, stable position where he's going to lock himself in.
He came into this race 7th in the point standings for the top 70, so no doubt about it. If he can just hold on to this spot, it should be a clear lock in the point standings coming out of Charlotte, so he can make Mid-Ohio when we start round number 2. And round number 2 is just going to be a whole different thing to talk about because we've got a lot of interesting tracks, and of course we'll slim it down to the 70, so we'll have our 2 splits, 35-35 each, and that's where things really get tensions, because then we start talking about Contender Series realm, the Coke Series drivers in the bottom half of that field, the bottom 20, and how they're all going to merge come into the fall of 2022. But for right now, we're still far away from it, not even into the summer here in this 2022 year, so still got a lot to think about before we end up in the contender realm. One thing to talk about is that there is a lap truck up ahead, and the leaders are going by them right now. It's in fact not them, but just one driver. It's David Brown, who got turned around in the back straightaway by Eugene Mozganoff, caused their most recent yellow. Christopher Pfeffer, Daniel Falkingham among the ones getting around him right now. There's Jake Nichols, there's Tires, there's Minter. Looks like nobody really having any significant troubles getting around. It may be troublesome here when you talk about Boyd Hogan and Drew Fernards going side by side if they catch up to the 15.
Yeah, there's an opportunity for them to do that. We'll have to see how they move now. But yeah, lap traffic is going to become a bigger and bigger factor if this thing stays green.
And like you said, Rachel, don't want to go 3 wide because it'll cause massive death, in your words, I guess. I'm not good at quoting people, but nonetheless, 3 wide, it may not work here, and actually could help the 6 of Freenarch and Michael Frisch. They're going to use the 15 of Brown as a pick, so a solid move there as Hogan decided to not push the issue there. Hogan will fall back to 17th. We'll get by the lap car finally, and we'll clear way to try to get to Frisch and Freenarge once again. A solid move there just to put a pick in, and it'll happen once again. Tyler Gary on the victim end of that as the 33 will go underneath.
Yeah, massive death is my best way of describing big wrecks here at Dover. It's often akin to someone passing gas in an elevator. No one gets out scot-free.
That's a very, I would never think of that, to be honest. That is very, very interesting. You know what? That is probably mass death, especially if it's a silent but deadly. But nonetheless, at this point, there's the 23. Anthony Burrows going underneath the 14 of Michael Cozy Jr. It looks like Cozy hasn't really found the pace here in this second run. I think that's what's happened here, Rachel, is that many drivers have flipped a switch. You look at Seth the Merchant, who was riding in the top 5 and not doing anything flashy, now up to P2. You think of guys like Brad Davies, who was kind of moving up to the field but didn't do anything crazy. Now he's up into the top 20. You look at Cozy starting to fall off on the end when he was doing really solid in that first run. And now really starting to struggle here. Same deal for Joel Blewett. It looks like this second run after that caution with David Brown just flipped the script on every single driver, and it helps some and hurts some dramatically.
It does. Don't forget the track's warmed up a lot now. It's also rubbered in here, so we're seeing a different racetrack than we had in the first half, and for a second green run, it's going to definitely change things.
And also changing, like I said, the track changing with the rubbered in. It's also changing with the track temp. We are still in the triple digits realm. It's a very warm 119 degrees on this concrete surface with 77 degrees out in the air. But that's one thing about this Dover Motor Speedway and these concrete surfaces, that they can really retain heat. So when the sun is bearing down on the racetrack, you are not going to have a good time, especially with the rear tires. With these trucks and pretty much every car in the NASCAR ladder not having all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, and not having traction control. So that's going to be something to watch here as we approach in on 35 laps to go. We'll look back up to the front of the field. Seth the Merchant is still up in front by 0.7 of a second. The Merchant has yet to really climb in on the leader. Was really close in that opening stint, but has since fallen back. Here's a look from Santiago Tires, a couple of spots behind in P7. Just behind Jake Nichols. And I think just at this point, Rachel, if it stays like this, it's just a rhythm race, getting the muscle memory in and just making sure you nail your long run pace. And this is really where the setups come to shine, because if you've got a setup that can last this long on a stretch, then it's going to be magical for you at the end.
I think we've seen two camps in this race. We'll see guys who've gone for three. Guys who've gone for like a stable mid setup that will kind of do a decent in a long run and a short run. We'll see people who have got a truck set up for the long run that may not be too quick at the start, but will last a lot better and go through a stint. And then we've got the people who I think were a little bit unoriginal and thought, well, Dover will be Dover, and built a short run track, which frankly is not going to go too well, because you do tend to have two kinds of races here. It's a 50-50 gamble. It's actually a coin toss. It's either a wreck fest with cautions every 10 minutes, or it has these long green stints, which are surprisingly more common here.
Definitely true. You have to really take your chances if you're building a setup, and I can imagine that a lot of these teams have different setups for different reasons, and when one track comes up next on the schedule, they're going to build many different setups catering around different styles of racing. But when you come to the racetrack, when the session launches up and you're in practice qualifying, or when the green flag drops, you're only picking one setup, so you either have to complete the entire package and have a truck that's good on every type of situation, or try and take that gamble and go for a truck that's either better at lap 1 to 15, maybe have a truck that's better at lap 20 on back, maybe have a truck that's really far in on the long run, maybe 40 lap plus when they start to really come in and get better, build a lot more speed comparative to the rest of the field. Something that these guys have had to worry about throughout this entire season. You don't know what these events, what these races are going to look like when you show up. It's only when you do show up and take laps where you really find out the true scale of the issue, or in fact the beneficiary, if you have the right setup. So it's always key to understand what may happen and what may not here in the spectrum. That's going to matter too, Rachel, when we get to the next two races, Kansas and Charlotte. We're going to take a step away from all of these short track races, and we're going to go to longer setup tracks, maybe Las Vegas, Atlanta, where we end up either with huge crashes and big stack 'em ups, or we end up with a lot of green flag strategy racing. So you really got to take your moments there and try to pick the best way you can, especially for the guys who are in that cut line for the top 70 and need a really good outing in the next two.
Yeah, it's going to be really important, of course. And I need to clear one thing up, Kenneth. If a truck existed or a setup existed for a race car that was good on short runs, long runs, was good on its tires, and, I don't know, made you a coffee, we wouldn't exist. Our job would not exist as commentators. Neither would races, because it would be done. That is the holy grail that no one will ever find.
There would be AI races maybe, but even the AI isn't perfect. So, I mean, we could still find, but, I mean, yeah, you are right. If there was a setup that did everything right, I don't think we would have the magnificent nature of the drivers, how good these guys are racing these cars. That's what's great about watching the eNASCAR ladders. You get to see so much talent, especially here in this Road to Pro category, because it's step one for all of these guys. And yes, you'll see the former Coke drivers. You'll see the former guys who were so close to contender but didn't quite make it. But then you have the upstarts, the guys who are making their first full-time efforts. You have guys that are just coming out of nowhere. Guys like Burafoko, who's been on iRacing for pretty much 1 year, just shy of 1 year on the service, joined in May of 2021. Parker White, who's making his first full-time effort in this series. And then contrasted with guys like Bolton, who's been in the top level before, was kicked out of the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series at the end when he couldn't make contender at Phoenix. You think about Brad Davies, who got back to square one. You think about Anthony Burrows, who subbed in for Isaac Gann in 2021 for Kligerman Sport and is now trying to rally himself back up. It's just so great to see this series where these guys are either on step 1 or step 10 or step 50 on their journey, but they're all here with that one goal to make it to the top level, and they are all insanely great at what they do on this service, and it's so great to see all of them compete at this top level like that.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can pull off here, because we're going to have a really interesting end to this thing. 24 to go. If we get a caution or a late short run, this will be chaos.
And so we are approaching the final 25 laps of this race. There's a look at a close knit battle for P6. Jake Nichols trying to hold off the fight of Santiago Tires, the winner at Las Vegas. There's a couple of more fights within the field that are really close like this. But for the most part, everybody is all single file. They're getting through lap traffic without much problem. And Andrew Navarro continues to lead this race. He's practically led every single lap here tonight from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. And as he'll come across the line next time by, he'll catch 21 laps to go. And if there's one thing about these short tracks, Rachel, is that when you get into a long green flag run and you continuously log laps, it does not take long to get to the end of a race.
No, they can blast by in no time at all. It's crazy. But it's like an hour. This will vanish in no time. 20 laps is, it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it'll be gone.
Yeah, telemetry tells us 8 minutes and 35 seconds as they cross the line for lap 100. So that's how quick things are going to end. You can blink of an eye and boom, you're already at the end of the race. We're already going through results and getting through the interviews. That's how quick this race has gone. We haven't had that many cautions. Really, we had the first 2 hiccups there on the opening laps of the race throughout the first 12. And then we had that mid-race caution with David Brown that sent everybody down pit road. But I think that stop just came at the right time, that yellow, because nobody's really having to worry about strategy anymore. Everybody's just worrying about what they can do on the long run to get the best out of their trucks, as Anthony Burrows has found the best out of his Ford F-150 sponsored by Allegiant. He'll go to the inside here of Jonathan Delaney. Looks like Casey Tucker will follow suit.
Yeah, looking for something here. We'll see some late race action now as guys realize, no, can't stick around here and hope this will clear up. You just got to put this thing down and go, because now is the time where really you're realizing this may go green to the end. I got to do this myself.
And you get very close to that lap 120 mark, and you start to really decide where you are and what you got to do to get into a certain pickup spot. And also to know, many guys in the top 10 and many guys in this field are just looking to lock themselves in on points because they're so far ahead of the ladder of the top 70 that even just a decent race here at Dover and just keeping yourself clean is going to get you into round 2 when we start off at Mid-Ohio later in the year. So Burrows is making sure he can get those other couple of spots, gimme spots here with about 18 laps to go. And now he is in the last spot of the top 10. So we'll start to move. Amazing move by the Walter man here in the 8 truck getting around as Michael Cozy Jr. is in the tail end of this. He is 13th. He's been up and down throughout the entire field. But he's got a good look at Casey Tucker and Delaney here. So maybe this could be a charge as he finds his nose almost under the inside. Couldn't do it.
And not quite. It's not because Junior's race tonight. He's really struggled through this thing. And I just don't think that truck's settled. I think he really just looks a little bit stiff in the corners and it's just not quite doing it for him. Like, you look at this thing and it's just not quite there. I don't know what it is, but he just feels, he looks tight. Whereas the car in front of him, like Delaney, he looks a lot looser.
Gotta also think about it, along with the setups, you're the majority of the time, especially if you're staying down there, you're stuck in dirty air, and these trucks definitely give you turbulent air from the rear because of that big spoiler and the really big roof that's pretty much vertical. It comes to a close 90 degrees at the end where the rear windshield is, so this does turbulent the air just a little bit on the rear side of the cars, and Cozy trying to use the force of it to either help him, but it's not really doing so right now. Last time by set a 24.947. Guys in front of him in the likes of Delaney and Tucker setting 24.93s. Not a huge difference, but that difference could settle 11th through 13th here in the final 14 laps of this Dover Motor Speedway race. By the way, if you want to know what the difference is for the race lead, it's up to 1.5 seconds between Andrew Navarro and Seth DeMerchant. Rachel, what can we say about Andrew Navarro tonight? Even with that pressure move by DeMerchant there after getting put into the outside wall, Navarro just has been quick, and after explaining that the last 2 weeks, or the last 2 races really, of Bristol and Richmond have been probably the worst in his 2022 campaign, it's dramatically picked up here tonight at Dover, and even with all the bad memories from Richmond and Bristol, winning tonight, getting a checkered flag will wipe that all away going into round 2.
Yeah, that'll be huge to him, and he really needs that. He really needs it for his mentality heading into round 2. And it's going to really settle him into a good position here to push this thing and really bring it home.
And Navarro came into this race 35th on the point standing, so you can directly cut it down the middle of the top 70, and Navarro would be in the direct center. Navarro has had a decent season here in top split, but has yet to find himself in victory lane. You talk about the many moments he's ran up front, the many moments where he's led laps, where he's been in the top 5, where he's put the fight to a lot of the Logitech Gialta's esports trucks, which over the first couple of races, they've looked like the best team overall with their hefty amount of drivers. But Navarro is just making a statement tonight at the Monster Mile, and we'll take an eye on him later on if we can get to the end of this race under green. Here's Burrows again, not giving up on his fight to get further into the top 10 underneath one of the hardest chargers tonight, Justin Bolton. That's for P9.
Bolton's been really moving to this thing tonight. 17th to 9th right now. This guy's all over the place, but behind him as well, Burrows. He's been the silent charger, up from 1 spot behind him, 18. So he's also been moving a huge amount as well. Up 10, we've got Cozy Jr. He's in 13th, so he's got some more gains here, but not as much as he would have liked, I think. But Michael Fish is a huge one, 31st to 16th, up 15.
15 spots, that's huge, especially at starting at the rear of the field. Michael Fish has done a solid job to bring that bar visuals. Number 26, at least near the mid-pack. Not the fastest truck out right here tonight from Dover, but you don't necessarily need the fastest truck to do well. And to speak about it, also to note here, Rachel, there's a lot of guys in this race that were not in top split in previous installments. I don't believe we've seen Frisch really this entire season in top split. We never saw Jordan Worth in top split either. There are a couple of drivers that they're starting to make their first trip into the top split realms here as of race number 6. So they're definitely doing a good job of holding their own, and for Frisch to make a jump from 31st to 16th, that is a huge pickup. There's 21st place, and that's Jordan Worth in the 34 with a very interesting looking Best Buy Davey Davis, number 34 Chevrolet Silverado, just behind the likes of Tyler Gary in the 24. So a very good look by Jordan Worth, but it's been a good look for him throughout his first top split race of this 2022 season. It's been a solid, clean run for that 34.
I think the big thing with that is we've seen a lot of guys go, nah, I'm not going to make it this year. Screw it. I'm going to go race, the C Open or something else. Attitudes coming out. So our field size has dropped down, which means we've got some guys pushing up into the top split here who might have been silent runners there. So to get a really good position to actually get a good result. And this could actually help some people who are on the borderline push in to that top 70.
Yeah, that's going to matter a lot once we start to dwindle the field down, and once guys start to move up into the top split, they're going to get more points for doing well, and they're really going to get the rewards out of that if they can keep on to it. So for Frisch and Worth, that could definitely catapult them and be the catalysm effect that they will need to make it into the top 70 and keep themselves in by the time we end the race at Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 26th. We are coming down to the final 4 laps here from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. There is a look at Tucker Minter on back, 8th on behind, but the focus remains on this bright white number 18 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Andrew Navarro started at the front, has yet to get out of the top 1 position, and he has practically led every single lap here tonight, has cleared 2-lap traffic, has managed all the restarts, and it's been a 100% flawless night for this 18 so far.
Oh, it's been amazing as we got 3 to go here on the board. Navarro has really pushed this thing home. This is his redemption race. Last of the short track rounds, and he proves he can do it.
With the last 2 races not going well for him, Navarro needed a spark to get him back into motivation. And with the larger tracks on way for these trucks, Kansas to Charlotte, tracks that really Navarro has done well at in previous installments of this 2022 season. You think back to Vegas and Atlanta, where he had a lot of long run pace and could really hold himself well in the top 5, top 10. This may be what Navarro needs to get back into the game and get back into the top 70 and keep himself there for the Contender Series later on in this fall 2022 campaign. White flag is displayed, 1 more trip around the Monster Mile for Andrew Navarro, and what a race it has been. Started on pole, and it looks like for a moment he would probably get overcome by Seth DeMerchant, by Parker White, and a lot of other contenders behind him, but he was never phased, never looked in that rearview mirror too much. And out of turn 4, it'll be win number 1 for Andrew Navarro. Navarro tames the monster and wins Dover.
Huge win by Andrew Navarro, and this puts him on the board as a winner, which shoves him considerably up from 35th, I'd say.
And Navarro clicks over the radio and says, "Let's go." The emotions running high for Navarro, who gets his first checkered flag of the season. There's Parker White, who picked up his first 2 weeks ago, and it is 2 straight weeks with 2 first-time winners. Parker White in the victory there. He stopped out at turn 4, but Navarro will stop on the front straightaway and will celebrate as he takes his first win. Unbelievable night overall for that 18. And I think if there's anything you can do to describe this night for Navarro, Rachel, it's statement. He definitely put up a solid statement to the rest of the field as he continues to burn it down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He really stated to these guys, I'm coming for this Contender Series. I want into this thing. I am going to be a threat.
Here's Navarro going backwards to do famous Polish victory lap as he takes away the win. A beautiful job, and he wins by 1.3 seconds over Seth DeMerchant. DeMerchant came out of nowhere in that final stint, was able to hold on to P2. Parker White wraps up your top 3. There's a look at the full field rundown as it stands. Navarro with win number 1, DeMerchant with P2, Parker White with P3 on the board. We'll talk to all 3 of them, or we'll try to talk to all 3 of them if they end up in either one of the waiting rooms here tonight. Christopher Pfeffer in the 27 ends up in P4. It was a solid run all evening long for Pfeffer. Started second and pretty much fell down before. That's the worst he's been all race long. Daniel Falkingham put up a silent but deadly night as he ends up in the top 5. Jake Nichols in the 21 will be in the top 6. Santiago Tires also did solidly enough to stay behind Nichols, did not get past him, although Tires finished just in 7th. Tucker Minter, who won at Richmond earlier in the season, he ends up with a great PA after starting 14th. It was a great move up to the field, +9 since the drop of the green for Anthony Burrows. Mr. Walterman goes to P9 at the end of it. Justin Bolton in the 22 started 17, ends up +7. P10 at the end of this race, Rachel.
P11 is Delaney with Tucker in the 12th spot, Cozy Jr. in 13th, Blewett in 14th place, Franz in 15th, Frisch 16th, Hogan 17th, Crawford in 18th, Gary in 19th, Davis in 20th.
Then we go through 21st on back. Jordan Worth has a solid top split evening in the 34 Chevrolet Silverado. He's 21st. Alex McCollum will be behind him in P22. Trevor Edwards in the 28 is P23. Larry Pace will be behind him in 24th after starting 27th. Logan Helton for Nexus Esports in the 31. He is the last truck on the lead lap in 25th. It was just a tough night for all the guys beneath 1 lap down or more. Daniel Buttafogo had a lot of speed to start, but unfortunately got into a crash earlier on, but still managed for P26 1 lap down. Eugene Moskanov got into David Brown on the back straightaway, caused a caution, and it wasn't the greatest night for Moskanov. He ends up 27th, also 1 lap down. Kyle Myers went for a spin on the opening laps of the race on lap 4. He ends up 16 laps down in 28th. David L. Brown, we saw him get turned around for our last caution of the race. He was 29th at the end of it all. And then these are a lot of heavy hitters at the rear of the field. They got taken out early. Matt Danson for Logitech G Altus Esports. You look at Kenny Brady, who was looking for a very solid night here at Dover. Tyler Severa, Jordy Lopez, Daniel Roper, which completes the 34 truck field here tonight from the Monster Mile. A lot of those guys being taken out early, and you got to ask what could have been for those guys. And unfortunately, they're going to have to pack up to Kansas and try to get a redemption run on their hands. Speaking of redemption, that's one of the best ways you can describe Andrew Navarro's night, as he wins for the first time here at Dover Motor Speedway and pretty much leads every single lap. Andrew, what went behind this? Was it the motivation from the past 2 short track races, or was it something else? Because it looked like when you took pole and when you led the field on the restarts, nobody could stop you.
Honestly, I had this track circled from as soon as it got announced. I was like, if there's one race that I have at least a chance, it's gonna be Dover. So I put so many laps in at Bristol, and I got absolutely demolished, which was disappointing. We were really quick there, at least top 5 speed. And honestly, I felt underprepared this week because I mean I was literally on V3 of our setup, and I only put like 200 laps in, 300. So I I, I knew we were gonna be strong, but I didn't think we were gonna be that strong.
It looked like you were the muscle man here at Dover, because leading all those laps, even when Seth the Merchant got pretty close to you, never really found a way to crack underneath the pressure, and you stayed up there, got through lap traffic, and pretty much handled business. And with the way this Dover Motor Speedway works, I mean, a very abrasive track, very different from the likes of Bristol and Richmond. How was it to try and manage what this track was like, especially with a very hot track temp and a very long green flag run to end?
Yeah, it was very. I struggled personally. My setup was awful in the short run, so I was really scared that Demerchant or Parker or Chris would get around me on the short run. I don't know what it was. I just like I would have to full push the start of the run, and then I would have to save tires. The track temp actually helped because it went down, I think, in the second run a little bit. Some shade got in 3 and 4, but the tires, I personally didn't have a problem with them other than the first few laps.
I think if there's a way to describe this race other than what I said at the top of this interview, is pretty much perfect, 100% all the way from start to finish. And as you cross the line, hearing yourself on the radio going, "Let's go," it kind of perpetuates the emotion of winning at this type of level. What does it mean for you and your thoughts after winning this race and after putting in all this work to end up at the top of top split in race number 6?
Yeah, first of all, I gotta thank my parents, before I say anything, for watching and always supporting me. My older brother, he got me into a league where I met Garrett Maines and stuff. I owe a lot to Garrett and those guys. They really helped me get into the competitive scene. Um, and then everyone on our truck and stuff, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my brother signing me up for that league and not meeting Garrett. I would have probably never thought about even trying to go competitive in iRacing. So I just want to thank them. And yeah, it was hard working. I've been in this spot before. Granted, it was like 6 split, and I was leading, and I sped on pit road after leading like 30 laps. So uh, I was glad we didn't have to make green flag pit stops.
You work incredibly throughout this entire race, and to get your first win of this 2022 eNASCAR Road Report qualifying iRacing series, campaign. Andrew, on behalf of our team, I want to congratulate you on your win here tonight from the virtual Monster Mile. You earned it, you put in all the work, and now you get to get the rewards for it. It's going to help you dramatically in the point standings for the top 70 as well. So it's going to mean amazing things going into Kansas 2 weeks from now. We wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Andrew Navarro, victory lane for him, first time in 2022. An unbelievable race for him all evening long. But what a run it was in that last stint for Seth the Merchant, the winner at Daytona earlier this season, is caught up with our very own Rachel Whiteford as he comes home P2.
Yeah, certainly has. Seth the Merchant, it seemed like after you got that little bit of a love tap about mid-race, someone lit a fire under your truck. You started going places.
Yeah, I kind of got mad when I got in the wall, but it was just some netcode, so no big deal with that. But yeah, just trying to get my track position back. Probably overused my tires and just didn't have enough to get injured there at the end. But still happy with P2 from where we started.
Certainly a fantastic run, of course, and heading into some of these longer tracks, what are your hopes? I mean, you've already got a win in the bag at Daytona. Is that for you kind of one of those it could have been not races where it's kind of been a bit of a gamble? Are you thinking you've got any more wins in the bag coming up to the mile and a halves?
Yeah, I'm excited for Kansas. It's one of my favorite tracks, so I'll be excited to see how these trucks run there. I haven't done it for a long time, and at this point, we're locked in round 2, so we're just going after wins, and I gotta figure out how to not qualify in the middle of the field, and hopefully that will help us get the track position we need for the end of these races. It seems like past 2 weeks now I've been playing from behind the whole race, and by the time I get up there, the race is over. So we just gotta start up front a little better, and I think we can win a race or two here before the round 1's over.
Well, of course, we have an outlier coming up with Mid-Ohio. How are you on road courses?
Decent. Last year in round 2, I think I got 9th at Watkins Glen, so I'm hoping just for a top 10. I'm not the best, but I'm also not the worst. So I'm kind of looking forward to it because usually it's just an easy, bit of points for us because there's no yellows there. So once you get through the start, everything's kind of just cruising, waiting for the end of the race, and we'll see what we can do.
Oh, buddy, if you think Mid-Ohio is anything like Watkins Glen, you have a rude awakening coming. But more on that another time. Anyone you'd like to go shout out to or thank?
Just all the Altus guys. Tucker did a lot of work this week. James Wenzel, and then of course all our partners, Logitech, G, VRS, and Racetech for being on our car every week.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Seth the Merchant, coming on today in second place.
Thank you.
Seth the Merchant comes home in P2, and I think you are right. That little contact with Christopher Pfeffer lit something underneath that number 3 truck as he went smooth sailing after that. But it was a very smooth evening for the defending short track winner at Bristol. Parker White comes home in third, caps up the top 3 here tonight from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. Parker, we'll talk about the paint scheme. We'll talk about the meaning of that in just a little bit and your previous history at this Dover Motor Speedway. But talk us through what was a very good evening for this number 2 Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, I could not be happier to finish third because that just locked me into round 2. But yeah, short run is really good for this truck. Just I lacked a bit of mid run, just tight through the center, couldn't really get off the corner well. I felt like I was putting the right front off, but that helped me out long run because I was able to get off the corner better than others and get the power down and really use that right rear tire to my advantage. But I was a little worried about Pfeffer behind me because I knew he had the mid-run speed, and I was just able to keep him behind me. I knew Seth was really fast, so I just let him go, and he got to me. My crew chief told me that he was really fast, so I wasn't going to fight him at all. I knew I needed 14th or better, and I was fine with just sitting there in third, just hitting my marks, and I was just able to bring it home and lock myself in round 2.
So we'll talk about round 2, what that's going to be and what your thoughts are since you're basically going to be in there for the top 70 already locked in. But this truck, a very different look from the normal white, red, and black Toyota Tundra TRD Pro that we've been used to seeing since round 1 of this eNASCAR Road Report qualifying iRacing Series season. I touched on it with the likes of Nebula Esports. What was it like to run that Nebula Esports colors once again here at Dover where you finished 13th last year?
Yeah, it was very cool, especially with my ex-teammate Joel. We're still very good friends, so I just said, hey, we should run these trucks for Dover. So we did that. Made a lot of good memories back in Nebula. Just the paint scheme looks amazing. Blaze Designs did an amazing job painting that. that was another reason why, because I just love that paint scheme. It's probably my favorite paint scheme I've ever had, and one of my favorite paint schemes just overall. So yeah, it means a lot. Just a lot of time that was spent on that team. A lot of good memories, like I said, and it's nice to bring it home third.
A lot of competitive guys, no doubt, in that Nebula Esports team, and a lot of them, much like yourself and Joel Blewett, going places here at the top levels of the eNASCAR ladder. But with these sort of Miami Vice colors, I'm not going to give my opinion because I feel like you already know what I would be saying about the blue and the pink. But round number 2, you're locked in. I know Kansas and Charlotte is probably going to be the motive of taking care of business. But we get into the wacky part of the schedule. Get a road course in Mid-Ohio. You get Pocono, Michigan, IRP, Darlington before we finish it all off at Texas. What are the thoughts about round 2 and what are the mental preparations for what's going to be a crazy round?
It's just a lot of the tracks I've had success at before, like say like Darlington, Texas. I've been good there in the past, so um, it's a road course to start out the season. I've been very good at road courses in the past. It's just I have those few road courses where I struggle at, and Mid Ohio is currently one of them. But the same was for Watkins Glen, and I got extremely good there last year. So I'm just gonna put a lot of time in. I still got to focus on these last 2 races just to try to get my teammates in. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna focus forward on round 2. Still gonna work on round 1, obviously, but um, yeah, it's just nice to know that I'll have a shot at racing myself into the contender series.
It's a game-changing race number 6 here at Dover for sure, no doubt about that. Parker, of course, on behalf of our team, want to congratulate you on this 3rd place finish here tonight from the Monster Mile. We wish you the best of luck moving forward to Kansas and Charlotte. But from all of us here, congratulations on making it to round 2. We'll see you there.
Yep, thank you, Kenneth.
Parker White is the last driver in the top 3, and he concludes our segment of driver interviews tonight from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. Rachel, it's our time to get our final thoughts in, and this race, I think first of all, it was way cleaner than the Bristol one. We had a lot more chaos at the last great Coliseum. I guess that's why they call it a Coliseum over there, because you can just go fighting tooth and nail. But Dover really showed us what it was like to run a long run. But the biggest also thing about this is that it's our last short track race of this round 1 schedule. So if there's any notes you are having still about short tracks, they get thrown out of the window after this checkered flag, moving on to Kansas.
Yeah, certainly is. It's going to be really interesting to find out what will happen. We go to a whole different slew of tracks here that are so different to the last 3. I am really excited to see what these guys do.
Next 2 races, intermediate tracks. Kansas Speedway will follow parallel with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series schedule, and we will see you 2 weeks from tonight. That'll be May 12th for Kansas, and then May 26th near Memorial Day weekend for the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we will cap off round 1 of this 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series. It's a dominant Andrew Navarro who gets to victory lane for the first time ever, leads every single lap, and absolutely puts a clinic on the field. The emotions ecstatic for him. Hope to see him probably in 2 weeks' time. Try to back it up at Kansas. But for Gary Sexton and John Theodore over at Podium Esports, for our producer this evening, Ryan Bauer, our camera builder, Dougie Beard, our man, Nicholas Weatherby, covering our social media, and from my colleague in the booth, Rachel Whiteford, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our coverage of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series from Dover. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when we head to America's Heartland. But for now, let's turn it over to the main voice of Monday Night Racing here on Podium Esports, Blake McCandless, as he sets up for his Rockingham 500 event.